Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Rory Friers from And So I Watch You From Afar to the podcast. The new And So I Watch You From Afar record, Megafauna, came out last Friday on Velocity and Pelagic Records. Rory talks about traveling with pedal boards and why the band hasn't gone digital in its live setup, the influences that led to the band's sound, how Northern Ireland inspired the new record, and more. I got to see And So I Watch You From Afar on tour last week, and their live show was incredible. Watching Rory and the whole band was insane, and I'm so grateful I got the opportunity to see the band on their run with Caspian. Make sure you check out their discography and go give Megafauna a spin. I know the guys will appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and thanks for taking time to listen to this episode. You can find links in the show notes or over at asthestorygrows.com to our podcast community on Discord, our mailing list on Substack, or you can support the show financially on Patreon. And if you think someone might enjoy this episode, share it with them. Enjoy today's chat with Rory from And So I Watch You From Afar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on another interview there and it went over.
Oh, it's all good.
Are you good, Brian?
I'm good, man. Yeah. How are you? You guys are, in Illinois today?
Yeah, in Chicago.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
Where about you?
Washington, D.C.
Oh, no way. Cool.
Yeah.
We're coming through D.C.
Yeah, next week.
Next week, yeah.
I hope to be there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully so. And I hear that venue's absolutely legendary.
Oh yeah, 930 Club's phenomenal. It's a cool spot. So
would that have been sort of part of the sort of DC hardcore scene, or later than that, or?
So there used to be an old 930 Club. This is like the new venue. So the old one would have been part of like the big DC hardcore scene, and yeah, not the new building, but I mean, there's been a ton of amazing shows at the new building too. So it's got a long history now at this point.
Wow.
Since you just did another interview, let me ask you a guitar nerd question that's maybe outside the realm of what you've had to answer on this press tour. Because you're a band coming over from the UK, are you bringing amps and cabs and pedal boards, or is everything streamlined into a rack mount and everything's on a laptop these days?
That would probably be a smart idea, but no, we are analog boys still, and so we're renting. We play through Roland JCM 120s, and we have a rental pickup at the start of the tour. So those were there, but we brought our guitars over. So we have these big cases that hold 3 guitars in each case. Which has been an absolute money saver over the years. So you can just check those on as one piece. And then we have our pedal boards, which we have really tried over the years to shrink down as much as possible. But it's hard. I don't know if you. Yeah, I mean, I see some guitars in the background there. I mean, the problem with effects pedals is you write a good song with a good effects pedal. It's like
right.
It's hard to let go of it. So, but I think let me put it like this: we both pedal boards are under 27 kilograms, which is the weight they need to be before you pay like an extra. So that's like a win at least.
Yeah, yeah. No, my board's on the floor, and I just added a bunch of stuff to it because that's what you do. You buy more stuff. It gets bigger over time, right? And
yeah.
But I don't know. Is it a preference to play analog, or just like you've just not made the switch over? Because it's interesting to go see bands live and like who's playing with amps and pedal boards and who's running everything in ears and rack mounted.
Yeah, I think for me I mean, without talking about the sound, on a very simple level, the just the hardware, the kind of like, you know, a big button that just clicks down, and just a couple of knobs that just have, okay, this one does this one does this, access, quick on the fly, being able to, like, I mess around with pedals quite a lot as we're playing, and then just familiarity, it's like it's all kind of there, and you gradually learn it. The digital, it's like everything being tucked behind a menu, and there's certain things that I see how incredible it would be. And I do actually have one like multi-effects line 6 pedal that I like stack up some scenes in, but I think just generally speaking, I like the what would you call it? Is danger too strong a word? I like the kind of like tension of, you're playing your guitar, but you're also playing your pedals, and they're like an actual tangible thing that can go a bit wrong and sound different every night, and the settings might be a little bit different every now and again, and I love all that. I just think that's like it makes me feel that when you come and see the band, that everybody's getting like a totally different experience. I say totally different. Okay, not totally different, but somewhat unique. It's not like a theater show, where we're just knocking it out tonight.
Right. There's a what's the word for it? I don't know. A sonic. I don't know. It's different when you have that live amp there. Even like I take photographs at shows all the time, and when bands have amps and you like, there's something there being in front of the barrier, in front of the speakers, and still having that sound versus like everybody's got in-ears and it's just dead for that 2 feet, and you're just like, are they playing?
Oh man, the first time I saw it, we this is like years ago. We were at a festival and Meshuggah rolled up, and I mean, there's a band who are doing the digital rack stuff correctly. That is phenomenal. But of course, we were playing the festival, so we had we had passes. So we were like, we gotta watch it side of stage. It's going to be incredible. And we got outside of stage, and it's just Thomas Hack playing the drums on his own. It's just like, what the fuck? Where's all the guitars? This is insane. And but out the front, oh my god, never heard anything like it. Just phenomenal. That's funny. Strange.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back in time. When this band gets started, what was inspiring you? Because I think a lot of instrumental bands just get labeled as post-rock, and post-rock evokes a certain sound and dynamic quality, and your band doesn't sound like that. Never has, like, at moments. But like, what was I listening? What's the track? I'm gonna find it. Run Home. It's like very Battles-esque, but then like has this like really like explosions in the sky middle section before going back to being Battles-esque. What influenced you guys as you were getting started?
As we were getting started, so that was like, I was really early 20s. I was listening to At the Drive-In, Fugazi, like Don Caballero, what else? I mean, Explosions in the Sky and Pelican, like these were bands we definitely loved, and you would maybe classify as that more post-rock thing. And we went to see some of those bands that our bassist at the time, Johnny, he sort of like introduced all that music to me, and growing up in sort of we're the north coast of Northern Ireland, and this is kind of, I mean, when we were growing up from the year of like 2000 onwards, it don't sound totally old, but like this is like kind of pre-internet as we know it. You weren't able to just find everything all the time, so we were, still of that age where when a CD came into the local record store and it looked like a cool, you'd buy it and you'd listen to it, and it would. So yeah, all our influences came from, probably like a handful of 100 CDs that all of our friends had, and that we were all sort of sharing and listening to. But probably it was probably, a band like At the Drive-In would have been, and Fugazi would have been those sorts of bands that instilled that kind of, you can experiment and you can be, you can be somewhat proficient at your instrument while simultaneously being in a punk rock band.
Yeah.
And that just in general has always been the kind of where we like to try and sit,
Was it always the intention not to have a vocalist, or was it just kind of like nobody worked out and you were just like, screw it?
I think whenever we first started jamming, I think like there was like no bands anywhere near us who we knew of who didn't have a vocal. Doing instrumental music just felt like really new to our kind of area, and we pretty sure we decided that from the start. I think the rule was kind of like if we feel like a song would benefit from vocals, so it's not a hard fast rule.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of times throughout, the albums done like, some vocal stuff. We've even done a couple of tracks, that with like lyrics start to finish.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I mean, lyrics for me sometimes get in the way of, people being able to like freely connect with something that's personal to them in a song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's not a hard fast rule, I guess.
I know you got a time limit here, so I want to talk about the new record, Megafauna. What led you to that title? It seems like it's inspired by the North Coast in Ireland.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember reading a thing about the Megafauna of Australia, which is basically when they discovered these huge versions of the marsupials of Australia that had kind of in isolation evolved to be like 10, 15 foot tall, I was just like, man, that's amazing. And I started to sort of, think about where we grew up on the North Coast and sort of that kind of it sort of was what I was saying earlier, in somewhat isolation. And, but all the great influential, people that we had in our lives. And I think those people, when we were writing the record, which was during the pandemic in isolation, I think those were the people who we were like really missing and really thinking of, and we were missing that connection with people at our shows, and so we thought Megafauna was a good descriptor for all those people, these huge important people in our lives, and we thought it'd be nice to make a record that was sort of a dedication to all those people.
Talk to me about the writing process and kind of what led you guys in this direction sonically, especially coming out of Jettison, which was a way more chill record. You got the spoken word elements with Emma. What led you kind of maybe back into this math rocky, exuberant sound?
I think every record we make tends to be a sort of reaction to the record we have done before, and we always, we're always trying to. Sometimes I think, God, people who listen to our band must fucking hate us, because we always. It's in our nature as people to sort of, once you've explored one area, you would just want to go over to another place and have a look there. And it's funny because that's not what I want my favourite bands to do. I want my favourite band to just do my favourite record over and over. That personally, that's usually what I feel. And so I have maximum respect for people who stick with us in each record. But I mean, I think, Jettison was so dense and it was so ambitious, and it was, very conceptual. All these things which I absolutely love. I grew up listening to a lot of prog rock records of my dad's, so I absolutely love all that stuff. But then, it felt like the scarier thing to do on this record. Jettison was like, pretty successful record for us. So it was like, the temptation is sometimes to like keep following down that road. But, really, what we wanted to do was, strip it all back again. And if you listen to this new record, there's one guitar on the left, there's one guitar on the right, and there's drums and bass down the middle. And it's, we recorded it in a week in Donegal, so it's kind of I think we wanted the songs just to be laid a bit more bare, so that it, and again, when we were thinking about when we were writing it and being in some sort of a lockdown with the pandemic happening, it was that making a lot of noise felt really good, and not writing anything too sort of nostalgic or wistful. We just wanted to be together in the room and make a lot of racket.
Yeah. When you mix an album that's like, one guitar to the left, one guitar to the right, is that strictly something, obviously there are going to be listeners who hear that and pick up on that, but because so much music is streaming and on our phones, is that a decision you're making more for you and what you want to hear sonically?
Yeah, I think the starting point, I think making a record is and should be a very selfish endeavor. I think I think you should be really just making the coolest thing to you, because if you're always doing that, then it sort of doesn't matter what happens with it afterwards. If you try to guess what other people want to hear, then it's you will be so crushed if it doesn't work. We wanted to make a record that was gonna be on a vinyl that had an A side and a B side, had a starting track on the B side and a starting track on the A side, had a finisher on each side. That the record as a whole has an arc, but that both sides have these smaller arcs. We wanted to, we always want to name the songs meaningfully. We want to mix the record to sound good on vinyl or CD, but we want it to sound good at how we consume. I consume music mostly on headphones or whenever I'm at home on a nice speaker system that I've got at home. And all those things the artwork, the font, the inner sleeve, the liner notes. That's something that we, it's all still gearing towards what would be the coolest thing for me to have in my hand, and so we're always trying to do that. And of course, it's you're deciding to make a different type of thing each time. But once you've decided the type of thing you're going to make, you want to make the coolest version of it. So I'm really happy with Megafauna. It feels like the best expression of that I think we've done. Yeah, it seems like so much of the internet is striving towards streaming and TikToks and whatever, but bands don't give a shit about that and just want to make vinyl records that sound cool and cohesive still. It's this constant battle. It really is. I mean, it's I mean, I think both can exist at the same time.
Sure.
I think, it's like make a record and you can have it on vinyl, and release every song as a single if you want to on the way. It's like fine, whatever,
Yeah.
But I think as long as that place, as long as the home of all that collection. I mean, sorry, I'm not saying this like, by the way, that I think that's the way it has to be. That's just personally for me.
Yeah.
That's just what I like. I don't think the album needs to be a thing. I don't think people need to feel a pressure to like have to make an album. I think it's totally legit to just have a constant stream of releases and singles and stuff. It's I think as long as you're doing it for non-cynically and for the right reasons, and it's like you're expressing something that's real, then do whatever you want.
Yeah. This is the second record you guys have released with Velocity, but you've also teamed up with Pelagic for this release. What led you to working with them?
I'm trying to remember how that sort of came about. They had reached out to us maybe around Jettison. I think maybe around maybe around 2020 or something. But we'd anyway we we were a big fan of a lot of the bands on the label, and we had run into the guys a few times. Some guys who run the label, and they're just a great squad and a great bunch of people, and really our type of people. So it was whenever there was the suggestion of there being the US and European labels kind of collaborating together. I mean, it just felt like a dream. So it was a no-brainer for us.
Nice. You guys have always had really interesting artwork, whether it's beautifully drawn pictures, or I don't know what's the one that's like crazy endless shimmering, like the dog and the girl. What led to choose the band photo for this album artwork?
Yeah, the front cover of the record is like a live shot of the band, and I think going back to sort of how I was describing the sound of the record, it just sort of felt like having the four of us playing live on the front was like a good visualization of really what's going on in the record, and because we were sort of leaning into the feel of the record being about friends and that Megafauna idea, it sort of felt like, well, maybe the four of us have always been so close, and it was, I think we're just sort of comfortable in ourselves and comfortable with who the band are, that we kind of felt okay to do that. I don't think we would have felt okay to do that maybe 10 years ago, but it sort of felt like, why not? And it's a photograph by a great friend of ours called Ciara McMullen, who took the shot at a festival in Ghent in Belgium, and it was just great.
Nice. Album's out in 2 weeks, and then you guys wrapping up this tour with Caspian. You have Post Fest. Is the plan to tour Europe in the fall once the record's out?
Yeah, we're gonna finish this run up, and then we've got UK in the fall, leading up to Christmas. We got festivals for the rest of the summer into sort of September, and then we've got like a month and a bit off, and then we're going to do UK, and then we're going to do Europe early next year.